Hi, and welcome back to Gavins SonexB. Well, it's time to get on and finish the bottom cowling and get those pesky side vents installed. So without any further ado, let's get in the garage and sort it out. So it took me another half a day of fettling, getting very confused because the cowling did not fit back on the aircraft properly after I fettled it the first time. And then I realised that I had actually got the two hinge halves back to front. And although they look identical, they are not, because obviously I drilled all the holes in them using a little jig I use, and it obviously had a slight run on it because I must have done one round one way and one round the other, because I just could not work out what was going on, and then it kind of hit me like a bolt of lightning. I swapped them back over and everything fitted back together again, and I was happy. Anyway, so that was the day before yesterday, so I had a half a day messing around with that. Then I started to look at the side vents, and yesterday I have actually worked out how to do the side vent, where I'm going to put it, and I've put one in and finished it off. And I'm going to show you that one, and then I'm going to go through the process of putting the second one on now that I know the theory is sound. So we'll turn the camera around, and you can see the vent in position. So this is the right hand vent. It's positioned pretty much as the drawing calls for, and the back edge of it is parallel to the hinge half there, where the join is between the fuselage and the cowling. And if we go around the other side, so basically I glued it on first with some resin. I used 4 Clecos to hold it in place whilst the resin went off, and then I've used 2 layers of 30mm wide glass fibre tape to actually bond it permanently on. This is what it looks on the outside. Now I am denied as to whether or not to cut the hole first, and or cut the hole first roughly and then position the vent. In the end I decided to put the vent on without the hole there, and then cut the hole to fit the vent, which seemed a better idea. But of course you've got to cut it on the outside and the vent's on the inside. So how do you do that? Well, I'll show you when we do the next one. But it's looking pretty good. I think probably I'll put a mesh screen in there to stop things climbing in through the hole, which would I think be a good plan. And it's gone in there nicely. I've finished it off. It's all flush around the edge, up this edge as well, across there, and I've just put a couple of radiuses in the corner on these 2 corners temporarily. I'll do those properly when it comes to painting the thing. So quite pleased with it. Took all of yesterday to do it, and I cut the hole out this morning once everything was set hard and rigid. So it's taken about a day, maybe yeah, I spent about, I spent yesterday afternoon and evening sorting out the vent positioning and how I was going to doing it, and then cut the hole this morning and filed it out to the right shape this morning as well. So we're going to do the other one. So how do we do this? Well, here's the other vent. I've put some reference lines on there. I've gone basically 6.5 inches down from the join, where the join between the top cowling and the bottom cowling, to there, and then I've come in, I think it was about 50mm from the back edge of the hinge, which was a good reference point really. I don't think it's critical. You just need to make sure that it's not too much on the curve here, so it needs to finish on the flat bit really. And so I've got the lines there, and it's basically going to go on there like that. I've pre-popped 4 holes in the corner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it, well, I'm going to turn the thing up on its edge so that I'm working on the flat, and I'm going to transfer those holes through to the actual cowling and cleco it in position temporarily. Make sure I'm happy with the position, and then I'm going to rough up the area where I'm going to be sticking it on with some resin, and also rough up the surface that's going to be stuck, and then I'm going to stick it in place. So we'll go through that, and I think we'll probably take a few photographs on the way through rather than bothering you with lots of video, but we'll see. I like talking, as you know. Anyway, I'm going to busy away and do that, so more later. So I've turned the cowling up on its side, and I think we'll go wide angle. There we go. And I have drilled the holes for the clecos through into the cowling. Those will be filled on the outside. Well, they get filled with resin anyway, but if there are any imperfections on the outside, you can use some body filler to do that. And I've roughed up the surface here and the shiny face on the inside, made that matte. And the other thing I've done, which is not obvious, is I've chamfered all the way around the edge, and that's to allow the mat, when the sort of glass fibre tape, to gently sit down. If it's too much of a right angle there, you'll find it's difficult to get the tape to sit in there properly, and you get air bubbles behind it, and it looks unsightly, and I don't like it. So just a chamfer on that edge down to nothing, and it'll allow the tape to transition from this level to that level and sit perfectly flat. So now I've done that, I'll get some resin, and we'll take it from there. So the resin I'm using is just a standard glass fibre repair kit, polyester resin, which you can buy in any car place that sells paints and stuff like that. It comes in 2 parts, so you've got the resin and then you've got the hardener to go with it, and the hardener is coloured. So the resin looks like this, and when you add the hardener, it turns a sort of pinky colour. And this particular resin lets you know when it's going off, because it slowly turns from pink to a kind of greeny blue colour. And when it goes a greeny blue colour, you know it's about to set. The sort of amount of hardener I'm using, which is a little more than you would do normally, because I don't want to wait too long for it to go off, gives me about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of usable time before the setting process starts. And then it's pretty hard. I'll leave it for about an hour before touching it again and doing the next step. So I'm going to busy away and mix that up. It's interesting stuff. You just squeeze a snail trail into there, mix it up. It needs to be a sort of light pink colour, and from that then your timer starts and you've got about 15 minutes to do something with it. So I'm just going to paint it. I'm going to paint a strip along here, along there, and then along the base, and do exactly the same on that surface round there. Then I'm going to mount it, put the clecos in, and let it dry or set basically. So I'll be off and do that now. So there we are. That's applied the resin to both surfaces and clecoed it into position, and it looks a bit like that. And the resin is still pinky at the moment, still a bit pinky, but it is starting to change. I can just see the first signs of it actually changing colour. It stays pink and then turns a sort of bluey greeny colour as it starts to go off. This particular one, they're not all like that, but this particular one does, which is very useful. Anyway, we'll leave it to set and then get on with the next stage. More later. Just so you can see, I don't know whether this comes out well on here, but it's just setting now. You see the way it's gone all stringy, and it'll be solid in a few minutes, and it's lost all of its pink, and it's a funny sort of manky, greeny, yuck colour. I don't know whether that's coming out on there. You can probably see it there, actually. There you go. That will be solid in a matter of a few minutes. There we go. More later. So now, this is a couple of hours later. The resin's gone off. This is securely stuck down, and I've taken out the clecos. I've cut myself 2 lengths of 30mm wide glass fibre tape to do that. Another 2 lengths there, slightly longer, to do that area there, and then another 2 lengths to do the area down the back there. Mixed up a bit more, I haven't mixed it yet, but I've poured out a bit more resin, and I'm just about to put the hardener in it, mix it up, and then we'll first of all paint some on over the area to wet it, and then apply the glass fibre tape and stipple it down with the brush. So there we have it, 2 layers of 30mm wide tape stippled down all the way around, and we'll let that cure now. and then it will be time to cut the hole. More later. So here we are the next morning, and we have 2 vents now. Excellent. Well, on the outside we've only got 1 vent because that one I've cut the hole for, and this one I haven't. And so the next thing is, how are we going to work out where to cut the hole? So to work out where to cut the hole, we're going to use a little bit of physics, science, I don't know what you'd call it. And what I've done is I have darkened the room, positioned a couple of lights, and hey presto, we can see where we need to draw some lines to cut, a bit like this. So I've shut the shutters, so it's dark in here apart from the light in the centre. I've positioned 2 lights there, and hey presto, we can see the outline that we need to cut. Obviously need to cut on the inside around there, like that. So I'm going to busy away and draw those lines, and then we'll have a go at cutting the hole. So there we are, I've marked the lines, and just to give you some indication of where the hole is and how big it is, I've come down 6.5 inches, which is 165mm from the shoulder where the top cowling meets the bottom cowling. And the finished size, when it's actually been filed out to size, it'll be 70mm in from the back edge of the lower cowling. And I'm making the hole 120mm wide, which is a few mil wider than they said. I think it should be about 115, but 120 is good, so it makes it easier to measure. I've just popped a couple of 12mm holes using a step cutter into the corners, on those 2 corners. The other corners will be filed to fit the moulding the other side, but those ones you've got to radius, or it's best to radius, to prevent any cracks emanating from those corners there. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut it now. As most of you know, I use my trusty Dremel with a thin cutting disc in the end. I use the Dremel Easy Click, well, they call it speed click system, and they're very easy to change. I get through quite a lot of them. I always keep a couple of container fulls here, because I use it for everything. I cut metal with it, glass fibre, everything, bolts, you name it, I cut it with that thing. Poor thing. That's the second one I've had now, because the first one I used to build my kit car about 15 years ago now, and it died at the beginning of this project. So this is the second Dremel, but they're brilliant, and I have the remote drill end for it, flexible drill drive, all sorts of things for it, and I find it incredibly useful. The most useful tool I have. Right, I better get on and cut out this hole. More later. Just a by the by, when you're cutting this, just remember when you're cutting down this edge, there is no clearance the other side. So the saw needs to go just through the material. So I would suggest cutting the other 3 sides first, then cutting this to to where you think, and then see if it's sort of moving, and be a bit careful cutting the last bit, because you don't want to damage the moulding that's the other side of this wall. So there we go, I've cut all the way around it, and theoretically if I grab hold of this corner, there it is, one hole. And now what I need to do is go around it with the file and file it up so that it's filed flush with that face there at that angle, and then filed flush with the top face of the moulding and the bottom face of the moulding, and then we'll straighten the leading edge up and make it look pretty. More later. So there we go, the bottom cowling is back on the aircraft. It all went back together okay. This, well, 4 hinge pins that I had to put in because I've got a split bottom hinge pin to avoid a pipe that runs down the bulkhead. They all went back in, no problem at all. The side vents look as if they're in the right place. I also cut the hole for the exhaust. I've given it about a 20mm clearance all the way around. I intend to put some wrapping around it. Don't want to set fire to the fiberglass. I'll have a look and see whether I need to trim a little bit off that side vent to get it away, a bit further away from the exhaust, but so the exhaust is going to be wrapped anyway. And that's what it looks like down inside that side, and over here it looks a bit like that, and we've got our side like that, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I've just got a little bit to take off the top cowling, and I think that's it for the cowling. I've been thinking a little bit about the oil filler. Do I really want to have to take the top cowling off every time I check the oil? The dipstick and the oil filler are on different sides of the engine, and on the plans it shows one little hatch on the right hand side, which is over the oil filler cap. But then how do you dip the oil? So I'm going to have a little look and see whether or not I can think of a way to get access. Can you get access to the dipstick through the port at the front here? I doubt it, but once I've got it all back together, we'll see. Anyway, that's that. The acetate sheet method of extending the edge of the glass fibre only works if you're adding up to 10mm, probably half an inch or so onto the width of something, because it has no structural integrity and starts to go wavy the further it gets away from a supporting structure. Of course, you can stick it to a piece of MDF or something like that to make a rudimentary mould. And actually, if you want to extend that cowling forwards, the bit you need to extend is 3 straight lines, because the fuselage is 3 straight lines. So you've basically got a straight line. It's flat all the way down the side, it's flat across the bottom, and it's flat up the other side. So you could screw 3 pieces of MDF together and line it with acetate and lay up on that. I would always recommend the use of, if you're going to do something like that, a release agent, and something like this, which is R-Wax release, which is a spray-on release agent. Can use a lot of different things. Anything that dries and leaves a small layer that's water soluble behind is good. But apart from that, I think that's a success. It's taken a lot longer than I anticipated, but everything does. So until the next time, I'll leave you with that little bit of success, and more later.